So in this part 7, we are going to continue to build decoders and explain the concept about decoders that you need to know. We built a decoder in the previous class, and we used for product to build this decoder. So for product is a function. In this function, you have to specify the fields of the class, and then specify the constructor for the class. In this case, for case classes, is the apply method. All right. And these decoders built this way is known as applicative-based decoders. Gives us the ability to accumulate errors, and this limits our abilities to model complex logic. What does this mean? So if you have a failure in the first field, you can have another failure in the second field. This decoder is going to give you the list of these failures, but the downside is that there are some things you cannot do with this decoder. So we'll use a different method to build our decoder. But before we do that, let's talk about using our decoder to decode. The first method we use to decode is called the as function. So when you have a decoder built, then you can take your JSON and simply say as. And it looks for the decoder in the implicit scope and simply returns the decoder and uses it to perform decoding, in this case for the author. So what I would like to do now, I would like to build a decoder for article, right? So let's go back to, before we do that, let's see another method that can be used for decoding. So we have decoder valid author JSON that as author, but in the second method we can use the h cursor to obtain a cursor for this object. So I'm going to say author. So we have the h cursor. We're going to say author decoder, and you are going to give it the valid author JSON dot h cursor, and this also is going to give you the same result, right? So it's going to give you the same result. So if I come here to clear my console and save everything, we also have why do we not have nothing? So let's see, we have an error. Okay, so I've not printed it out. I'm just going to print line and specify decoded author. And in this case, I'll just save everything, and now you see our instance of the author class is produced. Let's quickly create a decoder for the same method. Let's use it to create a decoder for the article. So I'm going to say implicit val article decoder is equals decoder.for product. Now for products, in this case article has 1 2 3 4, so let's try for product 4. Actually, I have not reviewed this because we have a nested decoder in this case, so I don't know how this is going to work, but let's just try. So we have ID, and we have the ID, right? So we have the ID. We also have the title, right? We have the title, and we have the content, and we have the author. Now let's have name 0 1 2 3. So these are the fields, and at the end we are going to apply the constructor for it, and the constructor will also use all these to build by the instance of this object. So I'm going to say article.apply. So hopefully we have a decoder for article, right? So this is a valid article. So if we try to decode this article, so this is a valid article, which is actually valid article.json. So let's try to decode it. Let's say the val decoded article is equal to article decoder. Sorry, I think I mixed up something. Article decoder dot article decoder. You simply give it valid article dot h cursor, And at this point, we should have our article decoded. So let's print it out to see what we have. Decoded article, this is what we have here. So I'm going to clear my console and I'm going to save everything, and let's see. Okay, so we have the article also printed out. So our article decoder is also working. Let's scroll just to see that the author is also decoded. So the author is also decoded because it looks for the author decoder in the implicit scope. In this case, we have the author decoder right here, and it uses 8. So what we've covered now is how to build the applicative-based decoders using the 4 product. You see the 4 product here: 4 product 1, 4 product 2, 4 product 3, 4 product 4, up the way to 4 product 22, I think. So let's see. Dots 4 products. So if you scroll down, it's 22. So you can't go further. So if your class has fields that are more than 22, then you have to find out a different way to fix it. So let's leave it the way it was. Okay, so what we want to do now is let's talk about, we have this decoder accumulating methods. Use it to accumulate, helps us to accumulate errors. So in this case, you can just try it out yourself. So the next thing we want to do is to build a monadic decoder. Actually, it's the same decoder, but built in a different way. All right, so I'm going to say this is article decoder, this is author decoder. Let's build another decoder. This time, I'm going to call it implicit val author decoder 2. All right, by the way, sometimes it's good to just add a type annotation. So if you go to this hinge, add a type annotation, it tells you there is a decoder particle. This is a good thing to do if you're a functional programmer, programming in maybe functional programming language like Haskell or OCaml or Scala or Elm or one of these other languages. Okay, so I want to build now something called a monadic decoder. Basically, there is nothing difficult about it. So this monadic decoder is going to take a JSON and simply return the decoded JSON. So it's going to take a JSON. It could be valid or invalid. So it takes this JSON, okay, and it's going to use for comprehension to build up to decode each of the fields of this decode each of the fields of this JSON, and then at the end of it all is going to yield the instance based on the decoded field. So let's try to see how it goes. So you're going to say for, and the first field, in this case, is author decoder. So the first field is name. It's going to be decoded. It's going to be decoded into JSON.get, JSON.get, and it's going to be decoded into a UUID, and it's going to the field is ID. Okay, ID. And the second one is going to be title. It's going to be decoded into JSON.get, and it's going to be decoded into a string, and the field is going to be title. And the next one is content. It's going to be JSON.get, it's going to be string, and it's going to be content. And finally, the last one is author. It's going to be decoded into author JSON.get, and we specify author, and it's going to be author. That's the field name, okay? And finally, we are going to yield, this case, we are doing author decoder because I wanted to say article decoder. So anyway, let's just leave it this way, article decoder 2. Okay. So we're now going to yield article using name, title, content, and author. Okay. So this is basically how it works. So why do we have this? I think I should create a bit of readability here. So I'm going to add a type annotation. So it says nothing, and that is not what we want. So it's actually going to be a decoder for article, and the errors will go away. So this is a second decoder. Building a decoder this way, we call it monadic decoder because it gives us opportunity to actually model complex logic, as we are going to see later on. I'm actually going to be stopping here because my CPU fan is beginning to ramp up. So please remember to subscribe to my channel. In the next class, we are going to continue talking about building encoders for decoders for a bit objects that are a bit more complex than what you already have. Also, leave me a comment if you have any challenges whatsoever. I remain Kindson the Tech Pro, and I'm always there for you.